Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Emily Geisey. I'm Senior Director for Digital Adoption and Integration here at Lexier. Today, we're going to be going over mastering edentulous scans for digital dentures with Miss Brooke Prain. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping items. Um, First and foremost, Brooke, I don't know if it'll go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Um, but just so everybody's aware, we definitely encourage questions. But if you can please drop them in the Q&A section of Zoom, that would be great. The chat feature is disabled. So please just use the Q&A section if you can. You will be earning 1 CE for today's webinar, and they will be sent out via email within about 2 weeks. So just give us a little bit of time and you should be receiving those in your email. All right, a little bit about Lexier Network if you're not familiar. So Lexier is our umbrella, and we have multiple laboratories under the Lexier umbrella. We have Precision Craft in Rhode Island, York Dental Laboratory in Connecticut, Thompson Suburban in Maryland, Knight Dental Lab. We have a high aesthetic center as well in within Knight in Tampa. We have Next Level Showcase, also in Florida, Blue Box, and 4G, which is in Houston. We are all full service and would love the opportunity to work with you if you haven't worked with us before. If you're interested in figuring out how to get connected with us, we have great resources on our website. So you can go to lexier.com and click on submit your case, and that'll walk you through how to get connected with our lab. All right, and then again, I'm Emily. I'm the Senior Director for Digital Adoption Integration. We have Brooke Prain presenting with us today. She is our Senior Digital Specialist. And the digital dedicated digital team has expanded this year, which we're so excited. We also have Yolanda Thomas on the team, and she's a part of our panel today as well to help with Q&A. And she is our manager for digital adoption. So excited to be here with y'all today, and I'm going to pass you over to Brooke.
Hello, everybody. Like Emily said, my name is Brooke. I am a hygienist, as you guys can probably tell from the RDH at the end of my name. I just no longer practice. I worked with Align Technology for a few years as their iTero trainer, and now I'm here with Lexier. So I get to be over on the lab side of things. I'm really happy to be here with y'all today. Like Emily said, any questions y'all have, please let us know. I'm going to get right into it. Here is our agenda for the day. So we are going to be going over benefits of digital versus traditional dentures, a helpful checklist and lab requirements that we do require on our ends, and just filling out proper RX, making sure things are detailed, what to write in there, and then different workflow steps for every workflow, as well as tips and tricks. And then we will do some questions and answering, and then we will do a demo scan. So benefits of digital printed dentures, of course, for those of you that have done them before, you guys know, but they're amazing. We get a lot of feedback from doctors and patients as well about better fit, better durability and strength, the ease of no more using wax try-ins, which is amazing. You can cut down appointment times, which means obviously more chair time open for you guys, no more single tooth repair, and digital design of teeth. That is like a tongue twister right there. So quicker turnaround time with everything. We do use carbon printers. So our carbon printers print out our dentures in the base and in the teeth. And we use a Lucitone material. So it is very strong, very durable. I actually have a denture right here. And when I say I've dropped this thing about, close your ears, Emily, so many times and it hasn't broken yet, knock on wood. This thing is very durable, which is amazing. So like I said, we do not have any more wax try-ins. We do have monolithic try-ins. They look like this picture right there on the lower left, completely white. So here at Lexier, we are a little bit different because we do offer 3 different types of denture. We have our standard, our premium, and our elite. Now they are very similar in the fact that they are all made with our Lucitone material. Really, the main differences is the stippling and the gingiva. So right here, I have a premium. We do, of course, you guys can tell from the Elite versus our standard. The Elite has a lot more stippling and more variation in the gingiva. The standard is our basic denture. If we do not verify what we want in the notes, we always just default to standard. Now, we do have four shades available in our standard, the A1, the A2, the A3, and the B1. And then in our premium and elite, we do have 16 shades available. So that is another difference between the premium and elite versus the standard. Now, typically your patients probably won't want darker than a B1, but if they did, then y'all can choose to do premium or elite. We do cover a 5-year warranty on absolutely everything. I said it is very difficult to break. Now, if your patient drives over it with their car, that might be a different story, and they're calling you and they're like, I need a new denture. So we cover almost everything for 5 years, of course, unless they were to lose it. We also keep a digital file on storage for 7 years. So let's say your patient calls y'all in 6 years and they're like, I lost my denture. And you guys are like, okay, well, you guys can actually reach out to us. We have those files on storage for 7 years, like I said, so we can just reprint out that denture for y'all. Am I missing anything there, Emily?
I think you covered everything. Just highlighting that the standard does, you'll see like the tooth material there. It's still a Lucitone material. It's very, very good, very durable, but it is a value resin. So the only thing I like to add is just, be aware that this tooth material might wear a little bit faster than what you have with the Lucitone IPN premium material that we offer in the premium and elite. But other than that, yeah, you covered everything else, Brooke.
Awesome. So all of our cases do come with care instructions. Something to note about the Lucitone material is we just want to make sure our patients are not soaking them overnight in any liquid at all, but especially those denture cleaning tabs. So we always recommend using a soft bristle toothbrush in a mild soap when cleaning them, just making sure that your patients are aware of that, especially our old school patients who might be stuck in their old habits. Just making sure that they're aware of that. Detailed RX. So you guys might have heard this before. We love a detailed RX. So anything you guys can put in the notes, the better. I always get questions like, should I put this in the note? Should I put that? If you're unsure, just put it in the note. It does not hurt to give us too much information. We do require 3 photos, a full face smiling, a profile, and a retracted and occlusion photo. And then, of course, your scan 360. So we dentulous arches if possible or if we need. And then, of course, 360 of the dentures if they have existing.
Brooke, I'm going to pause you for just a second. There was a question in the chat for can the Lucitone be tinted to Mahari? So we do have different gingival shades. The dark reddish pink would probably be the closest, but we can also do custom shading as well if you need it to be a little bit darker. You just have to request that, and the photos are always very helpful. So just send the photos as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So attaching photos for my lovely iTero users, we do have to go to myitero.com. Login and password is the same exact as your iTero. It basically acts as your iTero, but web-based version. And you'll go there and you'll go to your patient's RX, and there will be a little button like this that'll say you can drop files or you can just click browse and add your photos in here. One thing to note is do not press send on the scanner until you guys have your photos uploaded. If you press send on the scanner, the iTero does not let you guys go back and edit. So if you guys do accidentally forget to upload your photos and you press send, you guys can just reach out to us, go to your MyLab Connect, and you guys can get on to us that way. Lumina scanner. So the Lumina, of course, is a little bit different than our Element scanners. It is completely different technology. So we do have a little bit of differences there. We no longer have to touch the teeth. We can hover, which is great because hovering means that we can capture more in a quicker amount of time. We can scan quicker. we do just want to make sure that we are still stabilizing the denture. So in the past with the element scanners, you would have to hold your denture very still when scanning. Same thing here. You want to hold it pretty still. You want to avoid scanning your fingers. Now, if you have gloves, the Lumina is actually really great about cleaning fingers out of it. But when you're scanning, you guys can just adjust your fingers when scanning. And then, of course, you just want to make sure that your sleeve lens is clean prior to scanning. I've seen a lot of scans come in where it is really kind of hard to see because the screen is so foggy. So just making sure that you are keeping that clean of saliva. And then just making sure that you guys are capturing all of the surfaces. A really commonly missed surface on a denture would be that post-palatal seal area. So just make sure that you're looking over your denture after you guys are done scanning it. Another thing to note when looking over your denture after you guys are done scanning, or this goes for any actually scan. So scanning for crowns, an oral health scan on a patient, anything at all, I always recommend using that monochrome button. It makes your model looks like stone. So instead of it being in color, it will be in stone. It does highlight a lot more than being in color would. So definitely recommend looking at things in that monochrome. It'll help you see things that we don't see in color. Another new thing of the Lumina is we do have to make sure that we are enabling the appliance scan. So I know I took that away with the element scanners. Now, when you are starting scanning for a denture, you do want to start that scan. And I actually have a demo that I'm going to show you guys. So it'll make more sense when I show you guys this. But you'll start your scan. You'll start your wand on, let's just say the molars back here. You'll shut it off, and then you'll hold your finger down on the screen, click Enable Appliance Scan, and then you guys can turn your wand back on and be on your way. I do recommend following the same scan pathway as we did with our old element scanners. Always recommend scanning those occlusals first and then filling in that post-palatal seal. Again, I'm going to show you guys a demo of this and it'll make a lot more sense. Once we do scan everything on this side, then we'll flip it over and we'll be able to scan the intaglio side. And the very last thing I do is just making sure that I have that post-palatal seal in there and I look over everything in monochrome as well. And then I get a lot of questions about this too. Well, not a lot, but sometimes doctors get a little bit confused. So when scanning a denture outside of the mouth, of course, you'll put it back inside the patient's mouth for the bite. And then you'll get a bilateral bite. So a scan on both sides. All right, immediate denture workflow. So when charting for this, we're just going to, of course, chart under denture removable. We are going to do a full immediate denture. We're going to want to make sure that we get the stage in there, the mold, the shade, and then whether it is an upper or lower denture. Now, you guys do not have to use the Vitalumen shade guide. You guys can actually choose other under this. You guys will see that in my demo scan as well. You just want to put that in the notes, what shade guide or shade system you guys are using. And then, of course, gingival shade. So we can typically do immediate denture workflows in about 2 to 3 appointments. Your first appointment, of course, is going to be scanning the upper and lower arches prior to extractions. You want to make sure that you get the palate, the buccal, and the lingual extensions here. Appointment 2 is deliver immediate denture, and then we'll refer back to our reference denture workflow after healing and a new denture is needed. Now, I say 2 to 3 appointments because you guys do have the option to request a try-in. Like I said, you guys can request a monolithic try-in. Just make sure that you guys put that in your notes if that's what you guys are wanting. Just, hey, I want a monolithic try-in. Increasing VDO. So I get a lot of questions about this as well. And when I go over this, I talk about the comedier gauge. Apparently, this is not a thing in dental schools, or at least most dental schools with the doctors that I've talked to about this. But this is a comedier gauge. It helps us establish the VDO. It is about $24, $25 off of Amazon. Like I said, a lot of doctors are like, what even is that? So there are videos online that you guys can actually watch. I don't know if Yolanda, you wanted to hop in and just give a quick description of the comedier gauge. She is our pro at this. But it is great to help us measure that VDO. So if you guys are looking for new options, that is another option as well.
Sure, I can discuss this with the audience. Hello, everyone. With this, the video gauge, it is very, very simple to use. It has a window on it so that you may be able to do your readings. Um, Basically, it comes in this little pack here. You can get it from Amazon, like she said. Looks just like this. Oh, I've got it upside down. Sorry. So what you're going to do is you will actually take this and do it from the corner of the eye here, if I can get it to move a little better, and to the downturn right here of the mouth. So right here, I'll twist this and it's tight. So this is going to be my BDO. I'm going to take this little device here and I'm going to put it right here on my face. Can you see? I don't know if you guys can see it.
There you go.
It sits right on the face.
Mm-hmm.
And here, if I was my video was out of occlusion and I was like 3 millimeters short. I'm going to take this little part and I'm going to move it up to the chin just a little bit until it's right up on the chin and it's nice and snug. And here I'm going to read it because there's a little triangle here. And each line is 1 millimeter. So it's based off of like a probe. And if I'm 3 millimeters if my VDO is 3 millimeters off, then obviously I'm going to say that I'm off by 3 millimeters. And then I will use this to be able to open up the gauge. I'm sorry, open up my VDO using a gauge device that you can put right here in the anterior region. And it will help you to open up the actual VDO.
Yep. I'll just add a couple things too. Some docs use leaf gauge and then take the bite using the bite registration, using your conmeteor gauge and having that set and using it like a jig to stabilize the bite. Um, that's really how you use this. I think we get the best results. Yolanda, I know, has gone and done a million trainings and highly recommends this video gauge, as do I and as does Brooke. So really great tool for you guys to use in office if you're not currently. Just wanted to add.
Yep. Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You.
All right. Our copy denture workflow. Okay, same thing here. We're going to be scanning under denture removable. We're going to want to scan under full denture tissue based, making sure that we put in our stage, our mold, our shade, whether it's an upper or lower denture. This is typically a 2-appointment workflow. Our first appointment is, of course, we will do a 360 scan of their denture. Now, I always recommend using a light body wash. So you do the body wash, you'll put the wash in there. You don't want to fill it up too high because if we fill it up too much with, my brain is not working, but if we fill it up too much, basically we can affect the video. So you guys just want to make sure that you're not overfilling it. When you place it inside the patient's mouth, you let it set, you'll take it out, you'll scan the denture 360. Now, if it does pour out over your teeth, you're just going to want to trim it because when you guys do take your scan, we do want to see those teeth. We need to see those teeth. And then if it, of course, overhangs out here and in the back of their throat, you'll just want to trim the back of this as well so that we can see that post-palatal seal. And then we can deliver a final denture.
I'll just give an example to Brooke, to your point
Yep.
of not using too much PVS material, or even using a fast set where it sets too quickly. We've had, some cases come through where it just increases the VDO and we're trying to do a copy denture, but the lab maybe doesn't necessarily know that there was too much material there. And then you get the denture back and it doesn't fit. So I think that's just a really key point to keep in mind, especially as you're, maybe you're first starting out with digital dentures and doing this technique for your copy and reference dentures. Just be mindful of, like Brooke said, how much material you're using because it definitely can affect the video. Make sure you could check their bite prior to doing the wash impression. Check it after, make sure that it didn't, increase them too much that it's going to affect the new denture.
Yep. I have also been told from doctors that they prefer a light body wash instead of a medium body wash. And I have heard, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard this too, Emily, but that some of my doctors will put a little bit of adhesive in here just to help when pulling out the denture so that the light body wash does not rip and it just stays in place.
Yep, another great tip.
Little tips and tricks over here. All right, reference denture. So, as always, we're going to be scanning under denture removable. Obviously, that is the theme of the day, so you can expect we'll stay scanning under denture/removable. And then we will scan full denture tissue based stage. Make sure you guys put in the mold, whether it's an upper or lower denture, and then, of course, shade. Okay, our little denture copy scan. A lot of doctors get confused by this because it is a denture copy scan button. So people are like, okay, we're doing a denture copy scan. Let's go ahead and click that. No, you do not want to click that unless you need an extra scan segment. So let's say you want to scan the patient's edentulous upper and lower, and in the same scan, you want to scan the patient's existing denture upper and lower. So that will give you the ability to do that by adding that extra scan segment. If you guys don't need that, do not click denture copy scan.
Brooke, what happens if you scan the edentulous arch? Let's say you do select denture copy scan, and instead of scanning the denture in, let's say, upper one, you scan it in upper two, and you scan the edentulous arch in upper one. What
You,
happens?
you will not be able to get the bite. Is that the
Yeah.
answer you're looking for?
Yep. Yep. I think that's just important that I've had some offices call me and they're like, I can't get the bite, what's going on, and it is frustrating because you can't flip-flop those scans. So
Yeah.
key point there too. Make sure you scan the edentulous arch in number two, not number one.
Yeah, that's a great point because it is frustrating when you accidentally scan the wrong arch in the wrong area and you have to delete everything that you just scanned. So,
Yes.
good point, Em. All right, this is typically done in 2 to 3 appointments as well. Appointment 1 is doing a light body wash in your existing denture. It'll come out looking something like this, like I showed y'all before. You'll take a complete scan, 360 scan of both the upper and lower if they have them. And then, of course, option number 2 for appointment 2 would be a monolithic try-in. So optional, but I always recommend this if there's a lot of changes that need to be made. So if y'all are trying to, open the VDO and maybe fixing midline, stuff like that, and there's just a lot going on, definitely recommend a monolithic try-in just to make sure you guys are happy, patient is happy. Another thing to note is we do ship out those monolithic try-ins, or at least we try to, in whatever shade you guys choose. So let's say you're like, okay, put in A2 for your patient. We do send out those monolithic try-ins in that shade, so that way you guys can at least see the shade and patient can be like, great, love it. Anything to note there, Emily, on this slide?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, just kind of hitting home again, just the main difference between the copy reference denture, just so everybody is super clear on that. If you ask for a copy denture, you're going to get an exact copy. If the denture is very worn and you are expecting us to, lengthen the incisal edges and create that anatomy, it's going to fall under a reference denture workflow. So like Brooke said before, the more information you put into your prescription, the better, especially with digital dentures, being super clear on what you want changed about that existing denture is really key to get the best outcome for you and your patient and meet your expectations.
And then, of course, last appointment is we deliver the final denture. All right, this is the long awaited, what do we do for a new denture workflow? Of course, denture removable. That is obvious. We're going to go ahead and click full denture tissue base. Bite rim, if you guys want to request a bite rim. Making sure, of course, that you guys are putting in the shade, whether it's upper or lower, stuff like that. So you have a couple options here. Appointment number 1. You guys can, like I said, you guys can request a wax rim. We can mail those to y'all. After you guys, of course, scan upper and lower. Option number 2 would be a putty matrix or wax rim. Both of these options, you guys do have to mark all of the lines. Um, and then Emily, I think you didn't you want to say something about option two?
Yeah, so option two, I don't see it very frequently. I don't see many offices doing it like this. It can be a little bit more challenging. And especially if like the mandible, let's say we're making a denture for the lower arch, and the ridge is really, really thin. I've seen it. It's just the scanner has a hard time pulling that bite together, because there's just not enough reference points for the scanner. But it can be done. So just, option two, you're gonna do your putty matrix. And you're going to basically cut that either in half or in thirds, and you'll place it on the contralateral side to where you're scanning the bite. So if I'm scanning the bite on my right side, I'm going to have that putty matrix set on my left side. I'm going to try and scan that bite nice and slow, grab as much tissue as I can so the arches can come together. And then do the same thing on the opposite side. Very critical that if you do this method, you need to notate it in the prescription, as well as if you increase the VDO, how we were talking about the con meteor gauge and using bite registration material to increase them. Let's say we're trying to increase them by 3 millimeters. You really need to indicate that to the lab, because we do not see that bite reg material. We don't see the putty matrix. We're just seeing the arches kind of floating in air. So really critical to make sure you put that in the notes section that you did establish the vertical, um, for the lab. So I think it's everything. Leolanda, anything to add from your end?
So yeah, just pretty much what you're saying. That's exactly what I would do. And making sure that when you look at that scan, ensure that the bite is floating like this and not looking like this, because that means that you obviously did not scan it properly for the bite. And that can really cause a problem as well. So it's just
Agreed.
making sure that your scan looks like a normal bite scan.
Yes. Great point.
Thank you, ladies. All right. Appointment number two, if we get wax rims. So always recommend doing a wash impression inside of it, marking all your lines. You'll scan that back 360, and then you will place them back inside your patient's mouth and scan the bites with them inside the patient's mouth. Or you can physically mail them back to us and we will redigitize them. Of course, scanning them back in is a lot quicker turnaround time. So y'all have the option there. And then appointment three, evaluate your try-in. So with monolithic try-ins, you guys can actually make changes on them with your handpiece. So treat it as their final denture. You guys can make any changes on it. You guys can draw on it. So you guys do not have to ship them back to us. The patient can actually keep this. Their monolithic try-in. Just make sure that you guys are putting any changes as well in the notes. And then if you guys need to take a photo, you guys can, and send it to us as well. I do recommend a wash impression. If the fit is perfect, you don't necessarily have to, but I always recommend it. And then, of course, you'll scan it back 360. And of course, do not forget that bite scan. It's important. And then we will go to deliver final. All right. So this is a great example, almost great example of a digital denture scan with a wash. So something is missing here. If I'm looking over my scan and I'm like, okay, it looks pretty good. You guys see that little gray at the postpalatal seal right there? There's like a little gray line. It looks like information is missing, and that is because it is. So we just want to make sure that we go over our postpalatal seal at the very end to make sure that you guys get absolutely everything. But other than that, it's a really good scan.
Yeah. Very good. I think the biggest area that I see missing, as well is on the anterior, on the intaglio surface, which is really critical, for us to have at the lab if you want a good physique denture. Yes, we can, fill it in and do our best, but it's not going to give you a predictable outcome. So if that does happen, now today we're talking about the Lumina, which is a really awesome scanner, and the focal depth is, great. So you really shouldn't have too many issues with the Lumina. But if you have a different scanner, or maybe you have the 5D scanner still, sometimes it's really hard to get into those undercuts. So sending us that Edentulous scan, and using that denture copy scan option that Brooke was talking about, please do that, because then we can overlay both of those scans and fill in that missing data with accurate data rather than just guessing. Just wanted to highlight that too.
Yep. Thank you for highlighting that.
Yeah.
Another point is sometimes I get questions like, well, my patient has a really high palate. Now, with the Lumina, you don't really see this issue as much, but with
Mhm.
Elements, you do. If your patient has a really high palate and the scanner is struggling to pick up that palate, you do want to make sure that, of course, you get it on the intaglio side because we can mesh them together. So if you miss a little bit right here because their palate is super high, it's not the end of the world as long as you can make sure that you get it on that intaglio side. Alrighty. Demo
Right.
scan. Yep,
I'm
yep.
gonna, we have a couple questions, Brooke. So I'm gonna, while you're getting ready for your demo scan, is it okay if we answer some questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. First question is, what are the optional shades for premium, and does the lab have all 16 shades? Yes. So we have all 16 shades. They're Vita, you're going to use a Vita shade guide. And then for the base shades that's offered, we have that's available really in the Lucitone digital print is light pink, light reddish pink, original pink, dark reddish pink, and then we have an original opaque as well, because this material is actually FDA cleared for overdentures as well. So typically we have that, use the opaque for overdentures as needed. So that's a good point too. There's a lot of different resins on the market, so always encourage doing your research to make sure. But the Lucitone digital print that we're talking about today is cleared for overdentures, which is awesome. So hopefully that answers your question. If not, please ask again.
Mhm.
And then the second question is, when you scan the rim back in, what do we select on the iTero? Yep, good question. So you'll scan pretty much the same way like you would for a denture. You can still scan denture removable. You're scanning them 360. And you'll select full denture tissue based, and then from your wax room appointment, you're going to select your stages try-in. Anything else, Yolanda, Brooke, to add there?
That's
Did you go
exactly what I
over?
was going to say.
Yeah. Did you go over when using a putty matrix how to get that scan, how to get the bite scan?
Yes, so I did, but it can be a little bit confusing. So you will scan, I guess I didn't go into it fully. So you're going to scan your edentulous arches separate, right? You're going to do your putty matrix. You're going to cut it in thirds, ideally, or in half, and you're going to place it in the patient's mouth. Let's say we're scanning the bite on the right side. We'll place it on the left side, stabilize their bite, scan our bite on the right side, and then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. That makes sense. And we can still scan under denture removable. I like the iTero RX because it does prompt you with all your denture details, so you don't have to type everything out in your notes.
That is nice. Walks you through everything, which is nice.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Any more questions before we get into the demo?
I haven't seen anything come through, but if anybody has additional questions, if you're thinking it, I'm sure somebody else has the same exact question. So please drop your questions in the Q&A, so we can make sure we answer all your questions. But we can go through the demo, and then we'll do another round of Q&A.
Alrighty. Let's share my screen with y'all. Alrighty. Are you guys seeing my video?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Like, where's my play button? There it is. Okay. So of course, we're going to make sure that we put in the patient's first and last name. I always recommend putting in a birth date or chart number, just because we do have patients with a lot of the similar names. Denture removable. Here you guys can pick what type. Due date is not mandatory. Although if you guys have a hard date to get to, like let's say your patient has a wedding coming up in a couple of weeks, just make sure that you put in that due date for us. Shade. Then you guys will see your denture copy scan button there. And then your note section, just making sure that you guys are adding detailed notes in here. And my Wi-Fi was running very slow today. Sorry, guys.
I think that's been the consensus across the board. Mine has been too.
I think
Yolanda was saying hers was slow too.
I think it's a US thing right now.
Yeah, something going on.
So for this purpose, I am scanning just an upper denture. I did start the wand. I scanned a little portion of my denture, shut the wand off, and then you guys could see there I held my finger down on the screen and clicked enable appliance scan there. So scan pathway, and I was talking about this a little bit earlier, but you guys can kind of see it in action here. I scan those occlusals. I go back, I adjust how I'm holding my denture so I do not scan my finger. I get that post-palatal seal, and then I will fill in everything else on the palate from there. And with Illumina, you guys will know, or you guys will, I guess, if you guys have used Illumina, you guys have noticed. But if you haven't, you guys will see. If the Illumina sees something new that it has not seen before, it doesn't just stop scanning like the element scanners. It will throw your scan on the bottom right. So once I got that palette information in there, I went over to the buckles, kind of do like a waving back and forth motion, get those buckles on up to that seal. And then again, I adjusted how I was holding my denture. And right when I got to the midline 8-9 area, I readjusted, started scanning on the opposite side, tied it in there. Another thing with the Lumina is a random fact. You guys no longer really need to be staring at that screen on the lower left. They recommend just staring at the scanning screen so you guys can see like the little white outline of the wand. So that's what you'll be staring at when you guys are scanning. So you guys can see I got all the information on that side. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to get the intaglio side. So kind of same thing here. I'm going to pretend like it's my occlusal surfaces, scan that, come around, scan that post-palatal seal, and then I will fill in that palate information. Making sure, like Emily said earlier, that undercut information right there by 8 and 9, you want to make sure that you get that. The Lumina makes it look very easy because it is very easy with the Lumina. You might have to get creative with some of the other scanners, but the Lumina does make it pretty easy for y'all. Now, once I fill in that information, I'm going to kind of roll over and start to fill in that buckle information. And now once it sees it and it's like, oh, okay, we've seen this before, it connects them together. So I'm looking at my scan. I accidentally got my finger in it. Like I said, the Lumina is great about cleaning things up, but I did notice that I needed some more of my post-palatal seal. So I'm going to go back through, get that post-palatal seal, and it should connect it together for you guys. And the Lumina looks like a spray paint can. You guys can see it looks very patchy. It doesn't honestly look that great. You guys will see blue areas that I have missed. You guys don't want to overscan. So I always recommend leave the blue areas, let it look patchy and not great. Click on that post-processing button, so the next the absolutely next button after the scan button, and then it'll show you guys a more beautiful filled in scan. So don't worry about little things and try to go back through and scan. It does clean it up. And of course, I did not scan the lower and the bite, so it's yelling at me here.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, less is definitely more.
Yeah.
With Lumina, I think that was the hardest thing for me because you do have to scan so much faster with it, especially if you're used to like scanning on a 5D unit. That was tough.
Yeah. And for me, because I was so used to using all of the element scanners for years, especially when I was a hygienist and assisting and working for a line, I was so used to touching the teeth. So like having to hover for me was just so difficult. So a tip that I learned when trying to remember to hover is, well, pretend this is not a denture and this is like my patient's mouth. I actually keep the wand, if I'm scanning the lower, I will keep the wand touching the upper teeth the whole time I'm scanning the patient's lower teeth. That will help you guys be stable, one, and two, hover. Instead of having to touch the teeth, you guys will scan a heck of a lot quicker. Like I said, don't really worry about blue spots. Once we get to that post-processing button, the Lumina does fill in a lot of that information for you guys.
Yep.
So when looking over my scan, of course, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, I got all the information. Obviously, it looks a lot better here, right? So in that post-processing button, it cleaned everything up. Everything looks really clear. You guys, one thing I did not do in this video was look at it in monochrome. So you just want to flip it in that monochrome view. Um, make sure everything looks good, and then y'all can make sure that you guys have your photos in there before pressing send. Like I said earlier, do not press that envelope button unless you guys have your photos in there. So just go back to myotera.com, click and drag, or just upload your photos in there, and then go back to your scanner and click send. So you cannot click send on myotera.com. You actually have to go back to your scanner. And then just making sure that your guys' notes are detailed. Another thing there is I get a lot of doctors that are like, oh, it's just so annoying trying to type in notes on my iTero screen, like touch screen, trying to type it in there. So if you guys are already going to myitero.com, you guys can just type in your notes on myitero.com. Sometimes people will have like Word documents where they have copy and paste notes already pre-written out, and they'll just copy and paste and kind of just adjust to that patient. So if that works for y'all and that's quicker for y'all, y'all can do that as well. But a couple tips and tricks there. Do you have anything else to add, Emily? I think just making sure, like if you guys are scanning the Edentulous, if you guys are scanning Edentulous arches with the Lumina, this is something new. So you guys want to just make sure that you guys are using retractors, making sure that everything is very stable and very still when you guys are scanning those Edentulous arches. Now that appliance scan, you're going to want that for your denture. You do not need that for your Edentulous scan.
Yep. Great.
Um, yeah.
Okay, turn that back off. Um, the only thing I was going to add to with the denture scans, if after you post process, it does look a little bit darker, there might not be enough data there. So in those instances, I would go back and just make sure you capture those areas really well. But as you can see in this scan, we don't um, have that issue. Because sometimes especially with denture scans or on like the intaglio, it's not necessarily showing you the dark blue. It's not showing like quite missing data, but it just looks dark. So, keep that in mind because it's not as accurate of a scan, I could say.
Yeah.
Yolanda, did you have anything else to add to?
Yeah, sure. Well, we do got some questions here. Let's answer these questions. Could we get a recording of this webinar? Yes, we can send you a copy of this webinar and you'll be able to watch the recording and reference back to all of the great points that we are here informing you of. The second one is after initial scanning, let me move this in a way. Okay, after initial scanning, is the next appointment teeth try-in or wax try-in? Well, that's a good question. So it's based upon what type of scan have you done. Did you scan a reference denture, the patient's existing denture, and use it as the custom tray, or did you scan just the edentulous tissue without a bite in place? So that can be either or. After initial is the next appointment teeth try-in. It can be a teeth try-in if you have the custom tray, and it can be a teeth try-in if you have an actual good wax room bite or a putty bite. So you have to just inform us what you want to do, but it definitely can be either or, right, Emily? What would
Yep, yep. I would agree. It really just depends on how the patient's presenting. Obviously, if they have no existing and you only can get an edentulous scan of the upper and lower arches, and we don't have that video, we have to do a wax rim. Those would be instances where we have to do a wax rim. But honestly, like if the patient has, if their denture broke in half and you can glue it back together to utilize it as a reference, that's going to cut down your appointment. So if the patient has something, some sort of existing denture or their immediate denture, use that to your advantage. That's your custom tray and try, and the patient knows exactly what they like, exactly what they don't like. So in all of those instances, where they have something existing and we can capture that video, we can go to a try-in. Or if you, you know, we can, if you send really good photo, let's say you do the putty matrix and we establish the vertical, we can, and you provide very detailed notes, very good photos. Then we can try to go to the try-in. You might have to do two try-ins instead of one, but you can try to at least eliminate, that wax rim appointment in that instance. So it just depends on the workflow and what the patient's presenting with. Hopefully that answers the
great
question.
answer, Emily. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Now, the last question is, do you have a reference guide on you all's website for us to refer to? Yes, we do. You
Yes, we
can,
do.
yep, it's all under our digital platform. Is there any way someone can share the lexier.com website
I
so that they can
the,
see where to go and
the
navigate?
The chat is disabled, so I can't drop it in the chat, but we will be sending out a follow-up email that you will be getting from Alyssa Scarciati, who couldn't be here today. But she'll include all of that information. If you want to write it down, it is lexier.com/digital dentures. And we have a lot of great resources. We have the prescription checklist for you, and a breakdown of each workflow. If they don't have an existing denture, with that new denture workflow, copy denture workflow, reference denture, kind of outlines each appointment. So lexier.com/digital dentures. But again, we'll send a follow-up email as well, with all that information in there for you guys. Good questions.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions, anyone?
Don't be shy. I love the questions. I'm trying to think of some other questions that I get frequently too. Um, you know, adjusting on this material with the Lucitone digital print, or the try-in. How do we adjust that? You can use an acrylic burr. Um, Works just fine. The zirconia acrylic burrs. I've had some docs who really like using those. Works great. Um, the try-in's really for function. So when you can grind it down, you can mark it with a Sharpie if we need to rotate teeth, shift midlines, all of that. And then you can send us those photos and updated scans.
We have another good question, everybody. Alrighty. So digital dentures has the same steps as an analog dentures, just scan part is the difference, right? So, yeah, oh, go ahead, answer that, Emily.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You got it, Yolanda. So for when they don't have an existing denture to work off of, yes, I would say, and Yolanda, you can chime in too. I'd say yes, that those steps are going to follow the similar process to our analog dentures. You still, most of the time, I mean, unless you're comfortable doing a putty matrix and establishing the video and all of that, majority of what I'm seeing is you scan the edentulous arches. You're still going to request a wax rim. from the laboratory. So that does follow similarly to your analog workflow. You're just getting a printed product then for your try-in and your finished. Um, However, where the steps really cut you down is that copy denture workflow, 2 appointments. We don't have to start from scratch. And your reference denture workflow. Again, when they have that something existing, that you can basically, you're thinking of that again as your custom tray and your try-in, you're eliminating those appointments. You don't need to do wax rim, you don't need to do, or you don't need to do custom tray, you don't need to do wax rim. You're using their existing denture as that for you, to eliminate those appointments. So hopefully that answers the question. Yolanda, do you have
Yeah,
anything else to add to
yeah.
that?
I was going to say the same thing because you're not going to do the wax run with the teeth set in wax. So that the monolithic tri-indenture is your wax room, is your bite. It can be everything. So if you're feeling like a hero that day and you're okay with your bite and you don't feel that you need a wax room, you can ask for the monolithic tri-in and do whatever you need to do with that monolithic tri-in. So we do you can go in whatever direction you want to go with. We have another question. Can we send for reline? Emily, go ahead and answer that one.
All right. So you can send for a reline. So two different options. We can do a hard reline on this material. Cold cure acrylic adheres. You might see a little bit of deviation between the material types with the printed, but again, it's inside the denture. Who cares? They're not going to really notice it, but it can be relined. We can also do soft reline as well. I don't recommend co-soft because it does peel out pretty quickly with this material, but any silicone-based soft reline material does work. Rodin has a really good soft reline material as well. But yes, you can send for reline, or you can, just do a new wash impression, scan that to us, and the patient can get a new denture printed, and you can go straight to finish. So two different options there for you for relines.
So is that going to be an additional charge for them, Emily, if we do it with the wash impression?
Yes. So it will be, the reline cost versus the, copy denture cost is pretty close. So it just depends on what, the patient has and insurance and all of that and how you operate in your office. So that's why, I'm not going to guide you on which way to go, but you could always look at it like you could just do, soft reline on one and get a new one printed, and then they can use the other one as a backup too. Multiple different scenarios there.
That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add to, just to the previous question, we're here as resources. So again, we have a dedicated digital team for all of you. We're here to support you in your practices. We can come do scanner trainings, be chairside for your first couple of visits, and help guide you based on how the patient's presenting, what the next steps would be. We don't expect you to get on a webinar if you haven't done this before and then off to the races and no additional support from us. We want to support you. We'd love to come in and do scanner trainings and support you and your staff if you have maybe staff members who couldn't be on today to kind of hear the different workflows. We're happy to support.
Awesome.
I think there's another
Do you have
question.
any more
Brooke, can you
questions?
bring up that feedback form too, just since we're getting close to time?
Yes.
Thanks. All right. Is it possible to check your pricing and about shipping and handling? Where are you located? Yes, we can get all of that information to you. Again, we'll send a follow-up email after this webinar, and we'll get you pricing and shipping. And we have multiple different labs to choose from. Knight Dental Lab is in Tampa, and they manufacture majority of our printed dentures. So I would advise for digital printed dentures, definitely sending them to Knight Dental Lab. And if you guys have a minute and wouldn't mind, we'd love your feedback. We certainly want to know how we can improve, maybe some, comments on additional webinars you'd like to see in the future with different topics. And yeah, we welcome the feedback. So if you can take just a minute for us, scan this QR code and fill out this form, that would be great. We'd really appreciate it. And if there's any additional questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A. Few more minutes. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in, but certainly if you think of something after, please feel free to reach out. And like I've said a few times, we'll be sending a follow-up email with additional resources for you as well. And please let us know how we can support you on your digital denture journey. Thank you all. I hope
Thank
you have a
you
great
guys.
weekend.
Have a
Thank
great
you
one.
guys. Have a good one. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Hey.